Hey everyone, Docwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a carry tier list for patch 7.33e, and you know what that means? That means later this week, or probably next week, they're going to drop a patch, because that's just how it happens. I'll probably release this video tomorrow, and then it'll be patch day. But in any case, I'll just give you an update on where the meta stands now. It's kind of the point of these videos, and then usually the patches these days don't shift the meta all that much, but they just kind of do slight tweaks at least. Even if it is a bigger patch, it seems like not a ton changes, and you can kind of see that there isn't much difference between the last tier list and this one. We have had a few major things happen, and the one actually that I probably will talk about a little bit, but we missed a little bit, was in the last tier list we had Morphling kind of in the middle or at the bottom almost, because no one was really playing him. Everyone thought, oh, okay, the universal heroes are broken, which they were at the time. So those kind of got nerfed a lot. Medusa was broken and has been nerfed a little bit, but still is pretty good. But then when everything got these small nerfs, people realized, oh, wait, Morphling is insane, because with the Ags you can steal not only agility heroes, it's really good to steal from them, but also universal heroes, it's insane to steal from them. It's actually even better than agility heroes. So Morphling was completely broken for a while, and then just the recent patch, the E patch, they nerfed Morphling. But other than that, there hasn't been too much shifts. It's the universal heroes, Medusa, and Morphling. Those are the main shifts. Otherwise, we can jump into the tier list right now and go to S tier, and the main three at the top are kind of consistent. The only big difference here is Naga Siren. And Naga Siren was sort of on the up and up, but I think now since the universal heroes got nerfed, a lot of the other really powerful heroes got nerfed, Naga has become the kind of carry of the patch. So if you know how to play this hero, it's really, really good. It's kind of one of those heroes that soaks a lot of farm. It can be somewhat difficult to play because you do have to have a little bit of micro, although it's probably, I don't know about the least intensive micro, but the micro is really not that hard. You just kind of split your illusions up a little bit and have them farm camps and waves and stuff. It can get, distracting a little bit, or it's hard to do everything at once while also kind of thinking about what's happening on the map. So that's the biggest part of the hero. But then in team fights, it's really not that hard, honestly. You just kind of like spawn your illusions and send them in with your hero, usually like silencing somebody, netting somebody, just killing them. Otherwise, the farming is kind of the more complicated part. But really, this hero is just, it's hard to counter. You just farm so quickly. You're so good in lane. It's very hard to deal with. You just spawn illusions constantly, and you're just getting free farm. You're just splitting the map. People, especially with the way that the map is so big now, it's so hard to hunt the actual real Naga because there's illusions everywhere. So to actually get to the point where you can find her, it's hard. And then, if you do find her, she's just going to song TP out a lot of the time. So it's very difficult to stop this hero from getting the farm she needs. And then she's very, very powerful with that farm and those timings. Now, I will say in lower MMR brackets, this hero, because she farms so quickly, like I think, when you're 6-slotted, you're not as powerful necessarily as another hero that's 6-slotted. So if you don't like hit your timing and end the game, sometimes that can be a problem. But usually you're just going to get so farmed that it's not going to matter. Or if there's like illusion clear, if you're into like a Leshrac or something, which is pretty popular right now, that can be difficult. But again, honestly, this is the hero of the meta, which is why you'll probably see in the other tier lists like Leshrac. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but Leshrac and Darkseer are really good. And that's because, honestly, this hero is broken. This hero is the best hero, the best carry of the patch, and that's what kind of dictates everything else and what other heroes are good. So that's Naga. There's really nothing special about Naga in terms of what's new. She just, all of her stats, all the things she does are really good. The only real new thing is that she's building Orchid's second item right after Manta, and that's just super powerful because you can get Manta Orchid at such a good timing, like before 20 minutes. And if you're running around at 18 minutes with Manta, where you can just, you're not going to be locked down very easily, and an Orchid where you can just honestly solo kill anybody in the game, because unless somebody's buying Yules, which is not a very popular item, it's so hard for most heroes to deal with that early Orchid from a hero that's just going to, melt you down. Plus, if she doesn't want to fight, she can just farm. So it's a very, very good hero right now. Next is Faceless Void. There's not too much new about this hero either. I mean, this is, I said back, I think, a few patches ago, and everyone was freaking out about, universal heroes and Morphling even a little bit after that this hero was the stable, very good hero, and it turns out that's true. I mean, when all those other heroes got nerfed, which we knew they were going to, I think Faceless Void comes out on top. And we saw at the Riyadh Masters that I think this was like probably the most picked carrier, one of the most picked, because a lot of the other ones got banned. This, I think, in Terrorblade probably, but Terrorblade's kind of a weird one because Terrorblade's like a pro hero, but like in pubs it's not as good. But anyway, Faceless Void definitely is one of the best heroes right now. you just have so many different ways to play with your chrono and with your ags that you can potentially build. You're very, very hard to kill. The shard lets you go in and out and use your time walk. It's very hard to kill this hero in lane. And now with the space on the map, you're just always going to get your farm. And that's one of the things that I think early on in the patch, people didn't realize that, everyone was playing team fight heroes, group up, fight. I think that's because people didn't really know what they were doing. And I kind of predicted that a little bit early on, is that the map is so much bigger. There's so much more farm. I think all these farming heroes are just going to be very good. And I mean, Medusa was broken already, but all these heroes that just if they can get their farm, they're going to be insane late game. It's going to be they're just going to be better because it's so hard to catch them with the amount of jungle and the amount of space on the map that they can get their farm. And Faceless Void is one of those. You can go Midas if you really need to, if you're losing the game badly and you don't feel like you have a lot of space, but you're almost always going to be having enough space to get these big chronos late game and just, delete 2 heroes or so. And that's just how Faceless Void works. Because he doesn't really have the biggest farming steroid, but if you can get your farm, you're going to win late game. And then we have Slark. Slark is a little bit opposite of those. He doesn't farm the quickest, and he's not the best late game carry in the sense Chrono is good against him, but he is very, very good late game if you do get your items. And he is one of those that there's insane space on the map and it's very, very hard to catch him. So, we saw with the other two, with Naga, with Void, it's super hard to catch these heroes. They're just running around wreaking havoc on your team and you can't really split up or you just die to them solo. And this hero, it's all about 2 pounces, 2 ults. It's super hard to deal with that. If later on you get Refresher, which a lot of people don't do in pubs, but you can go it as a 7th item or 6th item, this hero just gets ridiculous with your Essence Shift stacks. It's just very, very hard to deal with this, especially in pubs. And his laning stage has gotten a lot better. It used to be terrible. He used to be awful in lane, but now it's a lot better. And he has good matchups. Some of the matchups that used to counter him kind of don't anymore. I think the biggest one I would think about is Legion, but now your Shard disjoints the duel. So yeah, it's still bad if you get dueled, but just in the game overall, if you just make sure you don't get dueled, it's actually really hard to play Legion into Slark because he just, shrouds your duel and then, the duel just gets completely canceled. So, yeah, this hero's just really good overall. Some of the counters, like Legion, like Bloodseeker, they are pretty good right now, but I just feel with the double pounce and with the space on the map, if you're having a bad game, that you can farm, come back, and then pick and choose your fights, split push, all that kind of stuff. It's very hard to deal with this hero, especially in pubs. So that's Slark. Again, there's nothing super special or different this time around from Slark and Faceless Void. I think they've just been really good, and just everything else got nerfed, and that's kind of the thing. I think even Slark maybe got nerfed a little bit, but it wasn't that much. So that's S tier. Next we have A tier. A tier is Bloodseeker. Actually, I usually don't go in to the page for these heroes. I kind of forgot. Whatever, I just clicked on it. But Bloodseeker is just pretty stable right now. He does counter some of the heroes that, like Slark, like Faceless Void. It's kind of hard for these mobility heroes, which are very popular right now, to get around against the Bloodseeker if you're ulted. But the other big thing is this hero just kind of deals with everything with or farms just a couple items and he's good. He just needs Maelstrom, BKB, and he's good to fight. And then if you get an Ags, you're very, very hard to kill. You're running around the fights, very hard to kill and doing insane attack speed, insane damage, percentage-based damage, because the Ags kind of got upgraded to be better than it was. It was terrible before. It was probably the worst Ags in the game, and now it's actually good. Now you're doing percentage-based damage, which can never be counted out. Honestly, pure damage, percentage-based damage, these two things can never be counted out. And so because he's doing that with his Shard, I believe, and he's just very efficient with only a few items, it's very hard to deal with this hero. He doesn't farm super quickly, but again, because you can come online and just kind of tear through people with these good timings, that's Bloodseeker in a nutshell. And if other things are banned or whatever, he doesn't really have super big weaknesses. He's just a stable, good all-around hero. And I think that's kind of where a lot of these heroes, they have their niches, they have what they do really well. I think he's just kind of he mans up on you, he man fights, he farms decently, he does everything a little bit decently, he doesn't have any crazy counters. Phantom Lancer is the next one. He's pretty much the illusion hero that you would go to. Actually, well, I guess Terrorblade would be the illusion hero you would go to if you don't have Naga as an option. But PL is becoming more and more popular, and I think one of the biggest reasons why is because of the invis that you have now. Actually, I forget which ability it is. I think it's your ultimate, that you just can go invis, which is insane. I think people just don't realize how this even works yet, really. I don't think they play against it enough that they realize that it doesn't, it's weird because the illusion itself doesn't go invis. It's you detach yourself from an illusion, and that same illusion just like keeps going, and then you become invisible. It's really weird, and it tricks people like crazy, and so it's very hard to deal with this hero. I think people just like don't know, even to this day, to buy dust against this hero, and that's one of the biggest things I think. Otherwise, there is a good amount of AoE damage that's coming out from Lesh and some of these other, Darkseer and stuff like that. I think that's what's preventing this hero from being really good, especially because Naga's so good, it just makes like PL, even though he's good, not as good, but he is still very, very good, because a lot of the counters to illusion heroes are getting picked a lot. So that's the problem with PL. Next we have TA. I think TA is just an overall decent hero, just has insane farm that you can't stop, really good timings, and then the Shard. The silence on the Shard, I think, is like the big thing with this hero. The space on the map, like I've said, these farming heroes that can just get big items early. Either they're really good late game because you're just going to guarantee that you're going to get late game farm, or the heroes that just like hit these like 4 or 5 item timings. You can't stop them from farming no matter what you do, and then they just take over the game. But I think the Shard is honestly one of the biggest things with this hero, because you just lay these traps around. One, you can scout for vision, but now you're silencing people for like what seems an insane amount of time in fights. Like, you just place some traps in the back of a place where, a fight's going to break out soon, and you just silence a support for like the duration of the fight, and there's nothing they can do. They're not buying, like, supports are buying Glimmer, supports are buying Force Staff, Ghost Scepter, these kinds of things. They're not really buying Dispels. They're not buying Yules. They're not buying Lotus Orbs usually. And so what are they going to do about that silence? Nothing. They don't have BKB. They don't have anything to do with that. And now you're just silencing these people. And then if you get like a core, like let's say a Slark, it's a little bit harder on a Slark because he can like see that there's a trap there, knowing when his ult goes off cooldown. But like a Faceless Void, a Slark, any of these heroes that don't just like build, like Faceless Void doesn't build Manta, Slark doesn't build Manta. He has his Dispel innate, but if he gets silenced instantly before he's able to cast anything, you just like straight up kill them with that. So you can kill mids, you can kill carries, off lanes, all that kind of stuff by just silencing them and slowing them and just running in and just blowing them up. So that's why I think TA is really good right now. Medusa has been nerfed. It's not as good as it once was, but it hasn't really been nerfed a lot. Like, I think the core concept is still the same. Like, it is still the same. And I think it just hasn't been nerfed enough. I think the core concept is kind of too broken. It's just like you have to make this hero absolutely terrible, or it's still going to be good. Because if you don't have mana burn, if someone isn't buying Diffusal and you don't have an anti-mage, it's super hard to deal with this hero. Like, it wins games. It's impossible to kill. Like, you need insane amounts of damage and lockdown or whatever to deal with this hero, and it's going to get its farm. Like, every game, it just gets its farm, like all these other heroes do. And, like the laning stage, all that kind of stuff, the more they're nerfing its like mana, the more the early game is easier to maybe gank this hero before it comes online. But if you don't do that, it's very difficult. Now, yes, Slark is good. Yes, PL is good. Yes, you can buy Diffusal on all these heroes. Pango's really good right now. You can buy Diffusal on that hero, and that blows his hero up. So there's a lot of good mana burn heroes that buy Diffusal that are available if a Medusa is picked. And I think people got so used to playing against Medusa that it's not as good, but it's still really broken. Like, it's still just kind of weird that this hero even exists and how it works. It feels like it's not working properly. Like, you lose 0 health before you lose mana. It doesn't make sense. The next one is kind of a surprise-ish pick, or, trending upwards, is Meepo. I think a lot of people didn't realize, I didn't really realize, that Meepo was going to be kind of broken, and it is pretty broken because this hero is really hard to deal with for 2 reasons: the Shard and the Ags. It's almost that's all you need. Maybe like a Blink, maybe a Sheepstick, maybe Scotty, but like honestly, you only just need like one of those little small items for stats. You just need some stat items, and then you get like Shard, Blink, Shard, and Ags. And this hero's ridiculous because if you're going on any Meepo and you're trying to kill him, he can just dig himself in the ground and like replenish health and stuff. And then again, if you are going on a Meepo and you're going to kill them, well, then he just presses his ultimate or his Ags, and he becomes like the Mega Meepo, and he's just this insane like 10k HP or whatever thing, this tower, and he's still like doing a lot of damage, but you just like can't, he's not doing as much damage, but you just can't kill him. Like, there's just nothing you can do. And so as long as, you have to burst a Meepo quick, you have to have silences, you have to have long like stuns or something, axe call, you got to have something. You have to like all in this guy. And, meanwhile, he has usually like each Meepo has like 3, 4, 5k HP, whatever it is, insane amount of HP. And, as long as his team is semi-competent, like, you're probably not killing him and he's just going to kill you. Now, Obviously, he has to get there. You have to lane pretty well. You have to not have like super hard counters. But that's why he's playing as a carry now, because instead of just a mid. Because if you feel like you can't secure your game, or you need to just like, it's a difficult game, you can just go safe lane and then just secure your farm, and then later in the game. Now the problem is this here does fall off, so that's the problem with the carry. It's like an early timing and you'll snowball and just destroy. But if you don't have like a carry mid that's going to help you in the later portion of the game, if you don't close it out quickly, that can be a little bit of a problem. But it's still an insane tempo hero that is just very hard to deal with now, even more than it almost ever has been. And then next is Terrorblade. Terrorblade, again, it's like a pro hero. The pros pick it all the time. I don't love it as a hero in pubs, but that's why I put it right here in A tier, because like honestly, for the pro picks, this was like A tier, S tier hero. I mean, this was like S tier hero, like the best carry of the patch or something, because it was picked all the time. But that's because other things were banned, and it was kind of like the default that people went to. And it always seems to just like rear its head in pro games, but in pubs, it's just not that good. But that's why it's A. But it's not. There's nothing special. It's again another illusion hero that's like budget Naga kind of. And then next we have B tier. We have Morphling. This hero with the steel stats stuff of the Ags is just not as good as it once was, because it got like giga nerfed like by like 50 or 100%, or I don't even know. It was nerfed insane amount. I forget the exact. It was like 20%. Now it's like 10 or something. I don't know. It's insane. It's still okay. I mean, Morph is still kind of like the pub stompy hero that you can still destroy pubs with if you're like really good, or if you're smurfing or something like that. That was my chair, by the way. I just moved a little bit. It's getting squeaky. I might need a new one. But anyway, he could still like smurf and destroy games, and like it's still very hard to deal with this hero, but he's just not like broken like he once was. Jug I thought was terrible, but I didn't realize I actually have a pretty good win rate with him recently. I didn't realize that the 20 talent was his Blade Dance. I think that's what it's called. His passive, his crit. I thought it was his Blade Fury, his like Q, his spin. But actually, this hero has like Perma Satanic at 20. At level 20, you just like can't die. If you are right-clicking, you just don't die, unless they have like insane, like maybe against a TA or something. But if you are right-clicking, it's kind of like Legion Commander in that sense of like if you're able to right-click and fight back, it's very hard to kill you with your passive, and that's the same thing with Jug. In fact, I have played Jug and I've gotten dueled by a Legion Commander with a good amount of damage and Blade Mail on, and I still lifesteal. I like would still outfight him with the lifesteal talent. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I was very farmed. I think I probably had more farm, like a significant amount more farm than him. I think I might have had Butterfly and stuff like that. But still, it's insane. Like, you're just out-stealing, out-lifestealing any of this damage, as long as you're able to hit. Next, we have Drow. Drow can be hard to play a Drow into some of these heroes that have jump, like Slark, like Faceless Void. But if you're able to hit, same thing with Juggernaut kind of. If you're able to hit, you will destroy. You also don't need a lot of items to do really well. You need like a couple items and you can just own. And I think the Ags is also very, very good. So people are going like second item Ags. They're going like a couple of small items and then Ags, and that's really, really an insane timing. So this hero is kind of like, what was the hero that I was saying? Not TA. TA just farms really quickly. This hero doesn't farm super quickly. Oh, like Bloodseeker. That's right. This hero is kind of like a ranged Bloodseeker in the sense of like, obviously it's completely different, but in the sense that you don't really need a lot of items and you're very, very efficient with those items. Bloodseeker needs like Maelstrom, BKB, maybe an Ags, like maybe a Mjolnir or something like that. And you're really good with just those couple items. Same thing with Drow. You need just like a couple items, small items and then Ags, and you're good to go. Maybe a BKB if you really need it. And then you just are ready to fight and you just do insane damage. And then from there you just scale a lot. And you're good against all these like high armor heroes, like a Slark, like a Naga. Like you're good against a lot of these heroes that have high armor and potentially are building Butterfly, which is a pretty popular item right now. Because you can buy MKB and those kinds of things. You pierce armor and all that kind of stuff. So this hero is very, very good. And then Monkey King. This guy's just stable. I don't think he's like anything special, but he's just pretty good right now. I don't play a lot of Monkey, but his laning stage is good. He's good against a lot of the good off-laners. And he's not necessarily great against illusions, but he doesn't like hate fighting into illusions. His ultimate is just one of those things that you can never count out to Monkey ult. He can do insane damage. He farms pretty well. He's just a good all-around hero, I think, but he's just not as good as some of these other heroes. There's not a lot to say about Monkey. Next is Sven. Sven, I think, is just okay, but he's on the upswing. I put him alongside here. He might be like C tier, but it's just the stats say that he's better, and he is decent. So that's why I'm putting him up here. This might be a little bit of a high rank for him, but he's just one of these heroes that he can farm and he can hit crazy timings. He's like a TA in that way. He can hit these crazy timings. You're not going to stop him from farming, and he will do a ton of damage and be very, very good around the map. I think it also helps that the Echo Saber upgrades to something. So all of these little items that he wanted to get, like he can get like a Blink upgrade, an Echo Saber upgrade, all these items that he wanted to build anyway, but it felt weird because he would get like 6 slotted with a bunch of small items. They upgrade to something now, which is really, really good. And it helps him not be kited. So I think that Echo Saber upgrade really, really helped him. And then Lone Druid, kind of a spammy hero, kind of a cheesy hero, but if you're good at it, it's pretty good. I mean, I would probably rather play it mid, but still, I think it's a decent carry, and if you're good with it, it's going to be good. This hero is probably always going to be kind of middle of the pack unless it's broken, honestly. And then we have C tier. Ricky, okay carry, but I think this hero is really strong except for Dust, like, just destroys the hero. The new Dust is very bad for Ricky, and that's otherwise I think this hero would be pretty good. But it requires, ganking a lot. It doesn't farm very quickly, and then Dust destroys it. Spectre is one of these heroes that it's just that you can, yes, secure your farm, of course, but it just farms so slow. Like, you don't want to farm so slow in this game, in the new map and everything, because if you farm that like really slow and you just let the enemy take over everything, it can feel really bad. Because like we're not seeing a lot of like Luna and Sven and like even Anti-Mage or PA. We're not seeing a lot of these heroes just sit back and farm. Like even a Medusa, even a TA, even a Naga, like they have these early timings that they get to, like 2 items or so, 3 items, and they're just insane. Where Spectre's sitting on like 1 or 2, and he's going to get his farm, but it's going to be so much slower, and by that time, the map will have closed in. They'll have like gotten every experience rune. They'll have gotten all the like tormentors, all that kind of stuff. It's just very hard to deal with this hero. Now, if you can get your farm and you can have a good game, you can be very good. Huerta, I think, is actually like really good right now in pubs. I think people just don't know how to deal with her. She takes like a team to deal with her, but overall, she can be very underwhelming. I think it's like all or nothing. Either you just like own with this hero and destroy, or you're just like feel like you can't do anything. That's kind of Muerta. I think people are underestimating how good she is. She was really good when she came out. Then she got nerfed a bit, but I still think she's pretty good. Marcy, I think, is best like as a carry right now. She was support for a long time. This hero could be like a carry or carry from the off lane. I think it's pretty good. You just have to have a good game where you can just like buy BKB and go in and right click, and they don't kite you, and you just like destroy them. And you can honestly carry games with that. Anti-Mage, it's the same thing that Anti-Mage always does. It's just like in this meta, basically in this map, you are going to get your farm like almost every game. It's just that, can you really 1v5? Because a lot of these other heroes have timings or can participate in some way, and you just don't. Like, you can't participate for like 25, 30 minutes. And so you better hope the team, like your team, wins 4v4 or 4v5 fights. And if they do, you probably win the game. If they just feed relentlessly, or like you don't have the, like you're not hard countering anybody in the game, it's going to be very hard. You have to like, now I think it's still pretty good. I think if you want to stomp games and like carry solo, then you can definitely pick it. I've picked it a few times and stomped games recently, but like it's still not great. It's not that good early, and that's the problem. It needs to have some way of fighting early, and it just doesn't have that yet. Even though the mana burn is very good, it's just still, you don't love fighting early with this Battle Fury build. Troll is better than it used to be. I'm surprised I'm putting it here, but the win rate says so. They've, pros have picked it a few times and it's doing okay. So I'm putting it here. I still hate Troll because I hate the ultimate. I used to pick Troll all the time, and I will never pick it again until the ultimate is changed. I don't care. It's never going to be up here until that ultimate is changed. Not controlling your hero is not good. I'm sorry. It's just not good. Alchemist, this hero basically has gotten nerfed a lot since they gave him a free extra ability. He was really good, but now they've nerfed Grievel's Greed, which is that passive, to almost like be like, you still don't farm very well. Like, you actually don't farm as well as you think you should to actually be like a broken hero anymore. To be like farming better than everyone else. So it's really weird. So this hero has like an odd spot now. Dragonite, I think, is actually a decent carry. You can actually play this hero as a carry if you get your item timings, if you go Midas, if you go Manta, and you go Ags and all that kind of stuff. You can have like your permanent also, and if you go Octarine, I think it's actually decent right now, and you can do a good bit of damage. The hero's not bad. I know I see some people playing it. I think there are just, the reason why I put it here is just like average. You can definitely pick it. It's just like, some of these other heroes are just so bad that it's just, I put it up here because it's not like terrible, which some of these other heroes feel terrible. CK is the same way. Nothing special about him. He's just okay right now. He just doesn't feel terrible. And then Clinks is the same way. He is actually better support, a better mid, but he can be played carry if you are like really able to be playing, if you are good at the hero. It just, the problem is from this position, he doesn't play exactly like a carry. It's kind of awkward. It's kind of weird. But you can still do really well with the hero if you want to. And then Arc Warden is kind of a decent carry as well. It's just more of a cheese pick, probably more of a mid these days. And the last tier of semi-viable carries is D tier. And we have Ursa here. I don't know. I really like the hero in general. He's just one of my favorite heroes to play, but right now he just feels so bad. Like, I've played him a few times. He just feels terrible. I don't know if it's the Roche change, if it's like power creep with all the different items and all the different stuff happening, but it feels like he does no damage. He can't kill heroes. It's super easy to get away from him. There's a lot of mobility now. It's just, he's super kiteable. He needs to like burst you down with just a few hits, and that just never happens. And you're almost never like snowballing the game. Your lane is also not nearly as good. Like, there's so many heroes now that can deal with you in lane. You just don't feel that great. I don't know. I just don't love the hero now. I think there needs to be something. I mean, they've already given him like all this cool stuff on his ultimate, or his Q now, which gives him a mini ult and all that kind of stuff with the shard. I don't know. Maybe there's something that I'm not getting about the Roche change that's just like, because you would think you would be able to sneak Roche pretty well, like on the sides. But it just doesn't happen. Like, it just doesn't feel good to ever do that with Ursa. Maybe it's just because, I don't know, people are just like, know that it's going to happen. I don't know. There's like wards there. There's like, people can always teleport from all the way across the map and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But it just feels like you never get Roche when you want to. You just like tickle people. And I mean, you're probably buying Battle Fury. And I think that's probably why the Battle Fury build is like good, but they're just like better heroes. Like, oh, these other heroes that don't buy Battle Fury are just like getting the same amount of farm as you, and they're just better with it. Like, because they don't have a Battle Fury, basically. I mean, that's pretty much the problem. And that's the same thing with PA. PA is just like better. That's the thing. PA is just like a better version of Ursa, almost, in a way, of like, you're still buying Battle Fury, but you're just doing way more damage later. And he has the same problem as Anti-Mage. I just think that Anti-Mage is a little bit better, because like the laning stage for AM is like better, because you have certain heroes you can just counter. And if you have like a Veno or something on your team, if you're an anti-mage, like as a 5, you can just run people down and burn their mana. It can be very annoying for enemies. PA, not so much. Like, yeah, you can slow people with daggers and stuff, but like, you're not doing damage. Like, let's be honest, like, you're doing 0 damage until, you know, like, you have like 3 items, like, or 2 items, you know? So, and yeah, in the laning stage and later in the game, you can participate more. So that's the thing. It's like better than AM in the way that you can participate, but do you really want to participate? I mean, unless the fight is like right there and you know you can like get involved, like, really you want to be farming at least until like Deso. So it's just, it's really good late game. So if you can get the items, you can own, but are you really going to get the items? I don't know. You're not farming that fast, and like all these other heroes are participating probably earlier on. And then Luna is like the same thing, except Luna can farm really well, but like, again, she's not farming that much quicker because all these other heroes can like secure their farm, and then she really doesn't do as much with the same items because she has these like magic damage spells and stuff like that. So that feels just really awkward. It's similar like Alchemist, where, you know, these heroes that used to farm super quick in the past and that was their advantage, like Luna and stuff. It feels like they usually have some kind of other downside, which is they fall off quickly. And I feel like you just fall off with this hero because, you know, you have a lot of items, but then if you don't close out the game, you're not playing with your team or whatever, it just can feel bad. Plus, you also, like, you can't participate that much because you take these farming skills, and then until you have, like, high levels, you don't have any damage on your magic abilities. It's just a very awkward hero. They need, almost like, it needs to be, like, split into 2 heroes, like the farming version and then, like, the magic damage version. Then we have Lifestealer. Lifestealer suffers from almost the same thing as, like, Ursa, except instead of bursting people, this hero needs to just, like, tickle people forever until they die, and it just feels like you're never doing insane damage. People can kite you a crazy amount these days. BKB is terrible. So BKB is awful now. It's like one of the worst things imaginable. At least it's still in the game. It still is good for situations, but like even with Jug, like if you get stunned at the end of your BKB and then, you know, your rage or whatever, your spin, and then like a lion stun hits you, but they don't even have to time it. They can just hit you with it like right when they know it's about to end, and then you're stunned coming out of your rage or coming out of your spin. That I think is the biggest problem with this hero. Weaver, again, you just tickle people. I mean, you just need a lot of items, and then you're just like this single target weird thing, and then Dust destroys you. I think that's the other problem too, is like Ricky, Weaver, Sand King in the offlane tier list. The Dust just annihilates these heroes. You can't like weave in and out. You can't just like Mansa it off or BKB it off or anything like that. Just like you just get owned by Dust. Sniper, I think you're almost like more of a mid because you don't want to take your like farming shrapnel. You just want to like hit people and just like like what is it, duck or what are they, whatever it is, like like quack them. You just want to quack them to death. Just like forgetting shrapnel even exists, and you don't really do that from the carry position. Shadow Fiend, you can play this hero as a carry. You could even go like the no raise build. It's okay. It just, again, do you really farm that quickly? It's just like this farming. It just doesn't feel very good because you're not farming with raises that much. You're not farming very quickly. You don't buy any farm steroid. You're just like hoping to get enough items and enough right click that you're going to do insane amounts of damage. And that's just not happening versus a lot of these heroes. Like, you know, you have a SF carry and you're against a Naga, like good luck. You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to deal with that? Well, you're not. And then Razor is just, the only reason why I put Razor here is because he kind of saw some play in the pros and he's kind of coming back a little bit, I guess. But no, I mean, if I had my way, I'd think this hero would just be like thrown in the dumpster. I hate the hero in general. I hate the concept. I hate this like passive that does nothing. It's just dumb. They need to like change the hero somehow. But it's still okay, I guess. I mean, if there's one carry that you can link and that's all their damage, then okay, that's great. But that's usually not going to happen. And then lastly, we have F tier. This hero, just like none of these heroes, this tier is all the heroes that you just don't pick. None of these heroes are pickable. Wraith King, you just can't play this hero. This hero's like 30% win rate. It's trash. They nerfed the ultimate. They nerfed everything about it. And now it's like, oh, the 2 lives like feel like they don't matter at all because you don't do damage. You tickle people. There's like so much more AoE. I don't know. This hero is just bad in every single way. Like I think they just made everything about the hero worse. Just feels very awkward. Look for Wraith King like offlane to come be a thing with like Ags and the stun. That's not going to happen, but that'd be cool if they'd made that a thing. Pudge, not a carry anymore. More of a mid or offlane. Not very good. They've nerfed this hero a bunch, which sucks because this hero's fun. Nature's Prophet, not really a carry, which I feel like you should still make this viable, but his win rate is trash. So, and you would think that this would be good with the big map that you can just be everywhere, but I don't know. I think maybe because of the big map, like your ability to be at every fight is not as valuable because like, I don't know. It's like people could be anywhere, so it's harder to gank them. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Dawnbreaker, just more of an offlane. Pretty good offlane right now, but not a carry. You just would hate to have like Dawnbreaker carry against some of these carries. Just doesn't feel like you're as good late game. Gyrocopter, more of a magic damage build these days, not a mid or a carry to do right clicks. You could do it, actually. I mean, it would work. I've seen it work a couple times, but not really a thing. Tiny hasn't been a carry for a while. I almost could remove him from the list. Bristleback is just trash. I think when he comes back, when he is good, he can be a carry, I think. But he's just not good right now. And then Huskar's a good hero, but I just don't think he's a carry. He could be a mid. He could even maybe be an offlane. He's more like a mid now. I feel like, I don't really know why, but sometimes Huskar comes back and it's a carry. And then sometimes it comes back and it's a mid. Right now, it's come back and it's a mid. So don't ask me exactly why that is, but that's just how it is. And he's just not good as a carry right now. So that is my carry tier list for patch 7.33E. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.